Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here, and welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Sunday evening, February 23, 2025. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. I'd really appreciate it if you guys get this video up to 100 likes. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and then the YouTube algorithm pushes the video out to more persons who are in the path of these tropical systems so that we can keep everyone safe, especially during the peak months of Atlantic hurricane season. That's August through to October. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Please ensure that you guys utilize the progress bar that's located at the bottom of the video, as well as the timestamps that are located not only in the comment section but the video description, so that you can skip to the points in the video that you want to see the most in order to save time, because we know that the videos over here with the Jamaica can be very long. Leave a comment down below letting me know what though that be like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so we're going to be looking at what the next 7 days have in store for us according to the latest Euro and GFS supercomputer model runs that came out today. So keep your eyes focused on the timestamp right here at the top as we go out to the next 168 hours, that's the next 7 days. Keep your eyes focused on Jamaica right here as we look for all of this that we see on the key on the right. That's the reds, the oranges, the yellows, and the greens that represent inches of rainfall. So let's see what's going to be taking place according to the latest Euro. We can see that as we head into Monday, we have some moisture around the island, but not necessarily on land for Monday morning, Monday afternoon, maybe some isolated showers across sections of some northwestern parishes. We also see the abundance of moisture associated with that low pressure system intertwined with a frontal system right there across portions of Florida, the Bahamas, Cuba, the northwestern Caribbean, intersections of Central America. Let's continue into Tuesday morning. We can see some moisture across sections of some southern and eastern parishes, especially the waters to the south of us. We can also see the moisture associated with the frontal system and the airflow pressure pushing eastward, now making its way into the central Bahamas, central Cuba, the Cayman Islands, getting closer to western Jamaica. We also see it affecting portions of Honduras by that time too. And then by the end of the day on Tuesday, we see an abundance of moisture across the island of Jamaica right there. And by the time we head into early Wednesday morning, the moisture associated with the frontal system should be across the southern Bahamas into the Turks and Caicos, eastern Cuba, Haiti, portions of Jamaica, sections of Nicaragua getting in some of the action too. Heading into Wednesday afternoon, we see even more rainfall across eastern to central and western parishes. Very interesting forecast indeed. Thursday morning, not seeing much rainfall across the island, but the waters around the island definitely getting in some isolated showers. Thursday afternoon, that's when the rainfall should come across sections of eastern, central, and western parishes. Friday morning, what do we see? Not much rainfall across land, but across the waters to the north and south of us. Friday afternoon, eastern, central, and western parishes getting in on that rainfall. Saturday morning, what do we see? Not much of anything across land, but we see some moisture to the south and the east of us. Then across sections of eastern, central, and western parishes on Saturday afternoon. And we're going to be stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. So this is valid for 7 a.m. on Sunday, March 2. And we can see some greens represent moisture surrounding the island from north to south. We also see some moisture to the south of Hispaniola, some moisture to the north of there, extending all the way up into the northern portion of North Atlantic as well. Let us match what we just saw on the latest Euro model to the latest GFS. Let's see what's going to be taking place. Let's see if we have the agreement on both models. Heading into Monday morning, what do we see? We see the moisture associated with that system across the eastern Gulf into portions of Florida, the Yucatan Peninsula right there. As we continue to go out in time, we see, just like what the Euro showed, not much affecting the island on Monday afternoon. Maybe some isolated showers across the northern portion of the island. Heading into Tuesday now, that's when the action should start coming in to portion of the Bahamas, Cuba, the northwestern Caribbean. We also see some moisture coming into portions of eastern Jamaica at that time. Heading into Tuesday afternoon or late Tuesday, because we know that 0Z on Wednesday is actually 7 p.m. On Tuesday, we see the greens represent moisture, especially across northern and eastern parishes. A very interesting forecast. Wednesday morning, what do we see? Not much of anything. Very different from what the Euro was showing. More whites than anything else. We see the moisture associated with the system now off way to the east, to the far east of the Turks and Caicos, eastern Hispaniola and Puerto Rico getting in on some of that action. Heading into Thursday morning, we see some moisture to the north of the island. Thursday afternoon, northern and western parishes getting on some of the rainfall. Friday morning, look at all of the moisture in and around the island. Very interesting forecast. Late on Friday, we see section of eastern, central, and western parishes getting on some rainfall. Saturday afternoon, some isolated showers across the eastern end of the island. 0Z on Sunday, which is actually 7 p.m. We see some of it across northern and western parishes too. And we're going to be stopping it right here at the end of the 168 hours. So this is also valid for Sunday, March 2. And we can see some similarities and we see some differences. The similarities would be the moisture extending from northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down into portion of the Bahamas and near Hispaniola right there. And we see the similarities as well with the isolated hit or miss rainfall across portion of the central to the western Caribbean right there. Very interesting forecast indeed. We're gonna be looking at what the latest total accumulated precipitation forecast maps are showing, both here from the Euro and the GFS, going all the way up until Sunday, March 3. And we can see the abundance of moisture. We know the abundance of moisture is basically showing what we see here on the key on the right. The reds into the burgundies that represents 1 to 2 inches of rainfall, and the purples into the pinks that represents 3 to 5 inches of rainfall. And we can clearly see that over the next 7 days, the most in way of rainfall should be plaguing portions of the Bahamas, sections of Colombia into Panama and Costa Rica right here. That's where we see the most of it. That's where we could get some isolated flash flooding taking place. And we clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus with that. You can also see at least up to 0.5 all the way up to 1 inch of rainfall for areas such as Cuba, sections of eastern Jamaica, Hispaniola, eastern Puerto Rico, anywhere from Guadeloupe southward, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent getting in on some of the action too, sections of Honduras and eastern Nicaragua getting in on some of that, as well as sections of eastern Trinidad and portions of Tobago. And we clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus. They're in agreement with this total accumulated precipitation for the next 7 days. And we know that it is not going to be a lot of rainfall all at once. It's just going to be spread out over the next 7 days as it usually is. Either way, if we focus our attention on Jamaica's total accumulated precipitation for the next 7 days, we're starting to see some differences. You remember it used to be a case where we're seeing most of the rainfall confined to portions of northeastern parishes, including St. Anne, St. Mary, and especially Portland. Now we're starting to see most of the rainfall on the Euro, that is, across most parishes, eastern, central, and western parishes, getting in on that rainfall, just to show that we're starting to get in on a flip in the weather pattern. So it's no longer more of that northeasterly kind of flow. I think we've exhausted it for the past couple of weeks. So it's gonna be a case where we're getting an equal amount of rainfall across the island. That's according to this latest run of the Euro, showing all of the greens that represent anywhere from 15 all the way up to 30 millimeters of rainfall, as we can see by the key on the bottom. The GFS showing the blues into the greens, but still adamant that most of the rainfall over the next 7 days should be across portions of eastern Jamaica. We see portions of Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Mary, and Portland shaded in all of those greens. We will see exactly what unfolds, and I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs on our other social media platforms, so stay tuned. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see a frontal system right here of the east coast of the US, extending all the way down with a trough that has induced into portions of Florida and the northern Bahamas. Another frontal system right here stretching all the way from northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down into portion of the southern Bahamas and eastern Cuba. And we have ridges of high pressure to the north that we know are responsible for sending all of the eastern trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. And if we take a look, hold on, before we even take a look, we see some broken orange lines right here across the Western Caribbean associated with a trough. So let us match what we just saw on the latest surface map to the latest GFS to see if it all makes sense. First of all, we're seeing the clouds associated with the frontal system that we mentioned right there. The other clouds associated with the other frontal system that we mentioned right up here. As well as, hold on, yeah, right here. As well as the clouds associated with the trough somewhere in here across portions of Central America. And we can make out the low level clouds and mid level clouds being steered from east to west, all courtesy of the ridges of high pressure to the north. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean to the later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Sunday, February 23, 2025. Yesterday's video highlighted the fact that we would have received some amount of morning rainfall across sections of some northern and eastern parishes, also affecting sections of some southern and western parishes during Sunday afternoon. And we know northern parishes, we're talking about Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland. Eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey, like Portland, St. Thomas, Kingston, St. Andrew. Southern parishes, we're talking about Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine, Kingston, St. Andrew, and St. Thomas. While western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, like Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. And what ended up happening? As early as 1:23 a.m., the Cuban Doppler radar images from the Guantanamo Bay military radar station were posted not only here on our Twitter page of Weather Jamaica, but they were posted on our Instagram page of weather.jamaica, on our TikTok page of Weather Jamaica, and on our Facebook page of Weather Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there as we make posts throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. So we can definitely see the greens, the blues, and even the slight yellows represents light to moderate to some slightly heavy rainfall across the waters to the north of us. We see some of the rainfall affecting portions of the western peninsula of Haiti, northern Jamaica, sections of St. Mary, Portland, sections of eastern Jamaica getting in on some of the action as well. We definitely got the rainfall that was predicted for northern and eastern Jamaica in the early morning hours. And in the afternoon, the visible satellite images were posted as well at around 3:26 p.m., highlighting the clouds bringing some overcast skies, if not some isolated showers, to sections of some southern and western parishes just as predicted. So sections of Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, and Westmoreland indeed gotten out some of the overcast skies, if not some isolated showers. And we even saw some clouds right here out to sea to the east of St. Thomas, pushing their way from east to west. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before we lost the sunlight, we can see that we definitely got those clouds mainly across southern and western parishes for sure. We saw the clouds right here to the east of St. Thomas, but by the time they got to us, we started to lose the sunlight. Maybe we got some isolated showers across eastern St. Thomas before this recording took place. And if we take a look at the infrared close-up satellite images, we can make out that we didn't get in on much in the way of cumulonimbus clouds, no high code cloud tops to show, no upper level cirrus clouds, just those milky whitish colors that represent the low to mid level clouds being steered from east to west across the island. Section of southeastern St. Thomas definitely getting on the action as we speak. And if we take a look at the flat bridge camera here from See Jamaica's YouTube channel, we can see that at around 6:19 p.m. we were indeed getting in on some amount of light to moderate rainfall. We can see that people are in their vehicles with their windshield wipers on for sure. Definitely some decent rainfall this evening across the Flatbridge Rear Cobra area, but nothing strong enough to cause the river to be in spate or anything like that. River is still chilling for the time being, especially considering that it is the dry season, but I'm sure that the residents who reside in those areas are happy for the rainfall to cool down the temperatures. And I'd like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to see more live streams like this, just visit See Jamaica on YouTube. They have these live streams for your viewing pleasure, and they're planning on increasing the amount of cameras that they have in and around the island. So subscribe today so that you don't miss out. Alright, moving on, let us take a look at the total accumulated precipitation for the past 24 hours from the CIMH, that's the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website. And this map does indeed paint a picture of where we had the rainfall today, mainly across northern and eastern parishes in the morning, then sectioned of some southern and western parishes during the afternoon. We know that this map from the CIMH is not 100% to scale, but it does paint quite the picture of where we had that rainfall today for sure. Taking a look at some of the comments here confirming the rainfall in some of our subscribers and followers area. We can see Lawrence Davidson 6195 stating rain early this morning, but sun is out now in Mobay. Thank you very much for confirming that. Even on our Instagram page, we had Miss B876 stating had a little rain in Ocho Rios, but it stopped an hour ago, not heavy, well, not yet. Dynamic underscore speaker stating overcast in Kingston, and BKJK28 stating the morning is cool. We also have another comment right here from bar underscore top stating a little light drizzle in Portmore, some heavy rain would be nice. Let's see, even on our Twitter page we have Proud Jamaican stating I was wondering what was happening, I heard a weird rushing sound, then the rain which hasn't stopped. Then we have Fest Genius confirming the weather in his area, stating very occasionally to this post about the afternoon rainfall across southern and western parishes. So that indeed confirms the rainfall for sure across the island today. And if we take a look at the very latest still image from the Weather Nerds website about what's happening right now, the latest still image is showing 0005 UTC, which is actually 7:05 p.m. So this just came out 10 minutes ago, considering that it's 7:15 p.m. now. And we can still see some clouds right here across section of St. Thomas, some clouds across section of St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland as we speak. Maybe some of these clouds could have in some amount of isolated showers within them. Wish we had the Cuban Doppler radar imagery to show, but it's still glitched out for the longest time now. Even the Jamaican Doppler radar is still glitched out. Let's see if we go to Met Services website and click radar image. Let's see if it actually is gonna show us the Doppler radar yet. Nope, still no Doppler radar to see, still down for maintenance. Hopefully the European get this sorted out. But if we take a look at the Guantanamo Bay Cuban Naval Radar imagery, let's reload this that we have the very latest. The latest is showing some amount of isolated showers right here across the western peninsula of Haiti, sections of the area to the west of Guantanamo, getting in on some amount of light to moderate rainfall, pushing out to sea. Taking a look at the Cayman radar, not seeing much of anything across southern Cuba, but we do see some isolated showers to the south and the east as well as to the southwest of Grand Cayman. Not seeing much of anything across western Jamaica at all. Taking a look at what's happening right now, according to See Jamaica's YouTube channel, showing crossroads, we can see people in their vehicles going about their business, people walking about going about their business. Nothing in the way of bad weather as we speak, definitely dry conditions right now. Taking a look at the temperatures, we can see that we have 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 24 degrees Celsius in Kingston, or it should be on its way there as the evening progresses. And by about 4 a.m. on Monday, temperature should dip down to about 22 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 21 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is valid for 18th on Monday, and when calculated, 18th on Monday is around 1 p.m. on Monday, and we can see Jamaica right here embedded in some slight orange colors that we can see from the key on the right that represents up to 2 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. And we know the normal temperature for the month of February across Jamaica is around 86.4 degrees Fahrenheit, and when that's converted to degrees Celsius that we use here in Jamaica, that's around 30.1 degrees Celsius. So considering that we're going to be getting a 2 degrees Celsius above normal temperature rise, it should be anywhere from 30.1 to 32.1 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Monday. And unfortunately, we have some maintenance outage advisories here from my JPS Online's Twitter page. And we know that we have to highlight these because we know that when we have power outages across the island, it can definitely make the heat feel even worse because we don't have our fan or our AC to cool us down. So if you live or work in these areas, or if you have friends or relatives who live or work in these areas, let them know that a power outage is coming their way on Monday, February 24, 2025. We're referring to Massemure, if I'm not butchering that place's name, as well as Little London in the parish of Westmoreland, somewhere between 9:30 a.m. and 5 p.m. as well as 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. And finally, we also have Dykes Hill to Coffee Peace in Manchester from 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Either way, we have some tips right here to beat the heat. It states here, when outside, seek shade. Eat fresh, try eating cold food such as salads and fruits. Rest, make sure you get enough sleep and rest if you're feeling tired. Soak, take a cool shower or bath to help you cool down. And I cannot stress enough the importance of staying hydrated. Drink a lot of water throughout the day, even if you're not thirsty. Put away those sugar drinks as well. Drink water instead. Taking a look at the dry air map, we know that the dry air is represented by what we see here on the key on the bottom. That's the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites within those reds. And we can see the abundance of dry air extending from Africa all across the main development region into the Caribbean and the Gulf of America, Gulf of Mexico right there. You can see the driest air right here off the coast of Africa is represented by the reds and the whites within those reds. But we're glad that we're seeing a lot of moist air in the blues across the eastern Pacific, across the intertropical convergence zone right here to the east of Brazil, French Guyana. And we can also see an abundance of yellows across the portion of the Caribbean. We know the yellows represents the low end of the scale in terms of dry air. And that's what we want to see. We want to see some moist air. We want some rainfall within the dry month of February for sure across the basin. Taking a look at the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Monday, we can clearly see that much of North America, Bahamas, the Caribbean, Northern South America, and Central America should be in the clear, as most of the browns that represent the Saharan dust should be across portions of the main development region. Some of it could seep into portions of northeastern South America, sections of the southeastern Caribbean, including the Windward Islands as well. But we're indeed grateful that we're not seeing that much of a vigorous plume. We know that the vigorous plume of dust is represented by the dark shades of browns, and we know that means very hazy skies, not to mention triggering some amount of respiratory illnesses in some persons. So we're indeed grateful that that is the forecast for the Saharan dust for 2 p.m. on Monday for sure. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can see the light shades of blues to dark shades of blues that we can see from the key on the bottom right. That represents anywhere from 0.5 meter wave height all the way up to 1.5 meter wave height. A mixture of the purples into the pinks to the south of Hispaniola, to the north of Colombia, to the east of majority of the Caribbean. That represents 2 to 3 meter wave height. In terms of Jamaica's wave height, the north goes up to 1 meter wave height tomorrow, south goes up to 1.4 meter wave height. And that's because of the winds that are expected. We can clearly see more of an easterly flow across the Caribbean right here. And we see the greens into the slight yellows. That represents anywhere from 10 to 15 to 20 knots, maybe even gusting up to 25 knots right here to the south of Hispaniola, to the north of Colombia, across section of the Gulf, coming in from the northwest and curving to the northeast into Florida right there, with the frontal system or airflow pressure starting to take shape. And if we close in a bit on Jamaica, we see that it's going to be more of an east-southeasterly kind of flow across the island. So anything that comes off of the sea from the east maybe comes into section of St. Thomas. And then we see that the least amount of winds are going to be across section of some northern and western parishes. So that's where we could have all of the air piling up, those low-level clouds becoming mid-level rain clouds, if not upper-level cumulonimbus clouds. And with the upper-level winds coming in from the west-northwest for tomorrow, If we get cumulonimbus clouds, we know that those high cold cloud tops could be sheared off towards the east, southeast. Either way, look out for that rainfall if we get it. And if we actually take a look at the rainfall forecast maps now, this map here from the Euro and this map here from the GFS are both showing 5 a.m. on Monday. We can clearly see some blows across the eastern end of the island, waters to the south of us as well, maybe some isolated shores in the early morning hours. We also see the blues right here on the Euro, but not so much on land. We see to the north of Portland, to the south of St. Thomas. We'll see how that actually unfolds at 5 a.m. Then by around 6 p.m, that's where we start to see some of the actual rainfall, because throughout the day it's more whites than anything else that represent little to no rainfall. So will the GFS be correct with all of these blues across sections of Trelawney, northwestern St. Anne, section of St. James, section of northern St. Elizabeth, with some isolated late afternoon rainfall? That's early evening rainfall at 6 p.m. as a matter of fact. Euro not showing much. We see some of that off to the north of St. James, across the border of eastern Hanover and the eastern Westmoreland. We'll see how that actually unfolds. Either way, both accumulated precipitation forecast maps from the Euro and the GFS are adamant that it's going to rain somewhere in Jamaica tomorrow. The Euro going all the way up to 0.29 of an inch of rainfall. The GFS going all the way up to 0.17 of an inch of rainfall. We'll see exactly what unfolds, and I'll definitely be here to keep you posted with what occurs for sure. And whatever rainfall that we get, we'll definitely take it, because we're, as I said, we're in the dry season. We're in the month of February, and in February in Kingston, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the top, we usually receive up to 19 millimeters of rainfall. In February in Montego Bay, whose bar graph is being shown right here at the bottom, we usually receive up to 2.9 inches of rainfall. And I'd like for you to keep in mind that if you'd like to find out what your specific parish usually receives in terms of rainfall for the month of February or for the entire year, you can visit weatherandclimate.com, and that website to show you that information. And you can also use this graphic right here that converts rainfall from inches to millimeters that we receive on the rain gauge. You know that 1 inch of rainfall is about the same as 25 millimeters of rainfall, so you can do the calculations yourself. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have a frontal system extending from northern portion of North Atlantic all the way down to the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos as we speak. We can see clouds associated with numerous frontal systems and troughs setting up shop right here across the northern Bahamas, eastern Florida, southern Gulf right here. We can see some isolated shores in the portion of the Yucatan, Belize, Honduras, section of Colombia, sections of Suriname and French Guiana getting on some of the action too. And if we take a look at the Doppler radar images, let's see what's going on across the northeastern Caribbean. You see some greens that represent some isolated shores across eastern Guadeloupe, some isolated shores to the north of Antigua and Barbuda, some isolated shores across the northwestern end of Puerto Rico. And if we load these Doppler radar images from earlier today, we can see that portions of central and western Puerto Rico are getting in some amount of moderate to slightly heavy rainfall today. You can also see some rain bands to the east of Dominica and Guadeloupe too. And if we take a look at the Barbados radar, look at that rainfall coming in from the east. Some rainfall to affect Barbados later on this evening, if not already. You can also see some moderate to heavy rainfall coming into portions of Martinique, St. Lucia, section of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada. Not seeing much across Trinidad and Tobago, but I'm sure if we look at the wide of Doppler radar images, we could see something there. Are we gonna see anything across Trinidad? Doesn't seem like it. We see some isolated shores passing from east to west to the north of the ABC Islands, some isolated shores across portions of Colombia, some isolated shores across portions of the Yucatan, northern Guatemala and sections of Belize as we speak. And regarding where the rainfall is expected within the next 24 hours, both the Euro and the GFS models right here are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Monday. Not saying that's going to be raining from now up until then, but within the next 24 hours, these are the areas that are going to be picking up the most rainfall. And we're talking about those areas shaded in reds and some slight purple. So sections of western Venezuela, southern Venezuela, Colombia, eastern Panama, sections of the Yucatan, northwestern and central Cuba, Florida, the Bahamas getting in on some of the action too. We can also see sections of Haiti, section of Jamaica with some isolated shores in the greens and the yellows, so too section of Dominica, Guadeloupe, Martinique, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago getting on some of the action as well. And we clearly see that both the Euro and the GFS mods are in consensus with that forecast. I know that when they're in consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.